This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Today is Tuesday, which means we're doing a top 5 list, and well, you've already seen the thumbnail and read the title of the video, so you know that today I'm talking about the 5 guitar players who essentially made me listen to country music in an appreciative manner. Because you see, early on, as a kid, I had a bit of a problem with country music, largely thanks to a DJ called Stan Laundon, who hosted a weekly show on the local radio station up here called Country Time, and he was uber traditionalist. Was this guy, and you know, it was all sort of syrupy Slim Whitman songs, and you know, all the cliches of cowboys singing about, you know, puppy dogs dying in the rain and all that kind of stuff. It just wasn't for me. But then, you know, thanks to the 5 guitar players on this list, I got a bit of an education. So who are they? Well, let's find out.
Albert Lee.
Yes, Albert Lee. I discovered Albert thanks to a couple of his ex-bandmates, Chaz Hodges and Dave somebody. I'm not sure of Dave's surname. I should have looked it up, but I forgot. But yeah, in the late 70s and early 80s, these two guys, Chaz and Dave, were they'd been in, I think, Heads, Hands and Feet with Albert in the early part of his career, and but they went on to have like a big solo, well, kind of career as a duo, doing sort of comedy-ish kind of novelty songs mainly, a few other things as well, but they were big stars, had their own TV show, and it was on the Christmas special of this TV show that they invited a few celebrity guests to come on, and one of them was Eric Clapton and his band, which included Albert Lee. And Albert was given his own little star turn on this show, and he did an absolutely barnstorming version of Country Boy, and I'd never heard a guitar played like that before. I associated at the time fast guitar with kind of heavy rock, distorted sound, all that kind of stuff, but this was a clean guitar, and he was kind of playing it like a kind of fast banjo sort of style. It was incredible. I could tell that it was country music, but not as I knew it to that point. And this really is probably, if I had to pin down one guitar player who opened my eyes to the genre, it would have to be Albert. I actually met him once many years later and many years ago, back in the 90s at some point at one of those little mini NAMM shows that Guitarists magazine used to put on. I think this was the one they did at Manchester, and met him in the bar, had a beer with him. Top bloke, lovely guy, and an absolutely incredible player, so he had to be on the list. Next.
Jimmy Bryant.
Yes, the original kind of Telecaster country kind of speed kind of guitar player, really, Jimmy Bryant. This chap I discovered via one of those little kind of tear-out records that you used to get in Guitar Player magazine. You know, him and his kind of pal, his the other half of his partnership was Speedy West. There were Jimmy Bryant and Speedy West. Speedy West played is probably not quite an accurate explanation or description. That's the word I'm looking for. He shredded on a pedal steel guitar, and with Jimmy Bryant shredding on these country licks, again, you know, just tore the sort of sound page or whatever it was called out of Guitar Player magazine. If anyone else remembers these flexible records, had to listen to it, and it was like, you know, when you kind of, it sounded modern but old at the same time. It sounded old because it was obviously recorded in the 50s in mono with, you know, kind of 50s recording technology, but the actual playing sounded immensely modern, you know, just kind of right up to date. It's, you know, again, it's sort of, because until then I thought like that Albert Lee was the only guy who played in that sort of style, but then I realised, okay, yeah, this is part of a long tradition that goes back a long way. So, yeah, Jimmy Bryant. Like all of the guitarists I'm talking about today, there are links in the description to examples of all of their playing. So, if you're not familiar with his work, go and check it out. Next.
Danny Gatton.
Yeah. Again, another guitar player that I discovered via those kind of tear-out records that were in Guitar Player magazine back in the 80s. There was a track on one of those called Nitpicking that was Danny Gatton, and he threw every kind of trick in the book at that. Oh, there's my phone. Let me see what that was. He threw nothing important. He threw every trick at the book in that, all the kind of speeded up tape effects and kind of that dotted eighth delay and everything, and that was the last I heard of him until a certain radio station in the UK played Radio 1, I think it was. They used to, on a Saturday afternoon, I've mentioned this many times before, they used to kind of kick all the teeny boppers out of the building and play some real music. And they played Elmira Street Boogie off the 88 Elmira Street album, and that was like, oh my God, what is this? Rockabilly, yes. Is it strictly country? No, but there's very, very strong country elements to everything that Danny did, and I think he would probably have described himself as having strong country influences, and he's country enough, I think, to be included on this list. Again, if you're not familiar with his work, check out the link in the description. Next,
Glen Campbell.
Glen Campbell, yes. He of Rhinestone Cowboy and Wichita Lineman fame. An absolutely incredible guitar player. You probably know this already because, talking amongst ourselves here as musicians and music aficionados, we all kind of know about the Wrecking Crew, the legendary bunch of session musicians that played on everything from records by the Mamas and the Papas to Herb Alpert to the Beach Boys, etc., etc. Glenn was one of those guys, and he was. I think he was probably one of the only members of that crew that wasn't a music reader, but he could just pick stuff up so insanely fast by ear that it didn't matter, And how did I discover his guitar prowess? Well, we used to have a talk show in the 70s, 70s and 80s, I think. This would have been early 80s, called Parkinson, because the guy who hosted it was called Michael Parkinson. And he had Glenn on one episode of this talk show. And Glenn did a version of Southern Nights with the house band. And that song contained he was just ripping it up. I seem to remember he was playing a weird-looking guitar that didn't have a hole in it. It was an acoustic guitar and it didn't have a hole in the top. I since found out it was an Ovation. It was, I think, probably the first Ovation guitar I saw. And he just ripped an acoustic solo on that, just absolutely shredded it. And I thought, why doesn't this guy's records have that kind of guitar playing on it? It was immense. But if you're talking about country artists who are fantastic guitar players, that list could never be complete without Glen Campbell. Next,
Chet Atkins.
Yeah, I had to save the best for last, didn't I? Chet Atkins. It boggles the mind when you hear him play. It really does. He is, or was, I should say, very much the guitarist's guitarist. I was listening to, and I'll tell you where I'm going with this, I was listening to a classical guitarist the other day, a chap called Craig Ogden, and it's amazing when you listen to him because you think that's got to be two guitar players. There's no way that anybody could be playing those complex bass runs and the melody on top and kind of chord stuff kind of sitting in between it. It's got to be two guitar players, and then you see him playing and you realise, no, he's just that good. Well, Chet was essentially, I think of him as a classical guitarist in terms of technique, but he played country with it. And, that amazing, you must have heard it by now, Yankee Doodle Dixie, where he's playing Yankee Doodle Dandy on the bass strings or on the trebles. I forget which way around it is, but he's playing a bass line based on Yankee Doodle Dandy, and he's playing the theme from Dixie in the treble and just meshes them together, and it's seamless. And once again, it sounds like two guitar players. I mean, the fact that he was an incredible virtuoso guitarist is just, that would be enough for many people. But Chet was a legendary record producer, songwriter, discovered so many great artists, Everly Brothers. He pretty much crafted the sound of early rock and roll. You think of all those early Elvis records, Hound Dog and Heartbreak Hotel. I think Chet was the producer on those recording sessions. So incredible guy, but what we're talking about today is guitar playing, and he was just, I mean, he's the pinnacle, really, in terms of, that whole kind of country Nashville sound. He pretty much wrote the book on it, and no way could I not include Chet on the list. So there you go, folks. Those are the 5 guitar players who made me listen to country music in an appreciative rather than dismissive manner. Let me know what your thoughts on this are. Who are your favourite country guitar players? Leave a comment in the comment section. Where else would you? Leave a comment down below, and I'm genuinely interested to know who would be on your list. But that is pretty much the video for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed it and found it entertaining in some small way. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 p.m. UK time, where we talk music and guitars and all manner of other things. Great way to kick off the weekend. I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.